Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Compelling Conversations podcast. Tonight, I'm joined by a special guest, Abdullah. Abdullah, thanks so much for being here.
No problem. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, I wanted to begin, Abdullah, by saying that I genuinely admire your Quranic recitation. Like, it's really cool. I've even fallen asleep to it sometimes. It's really cool. One of
Yeah.
my favorite ones that you've done is the one on the bees. Oh, no.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أتى أمر الله فلا تستعجلوه سبحانه وتعالى عما يشركون ينزل الملائكة بالروح من أمره على من يشاء من عباده أن أنذروا أنه لا إله إلا أنا فاتقون خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق تعالى عما يشركون خلق الإنسان من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين.
I don't know why, but that the recitation that you've given for that I'm really drawn to like that little chapter and those verses that you recited. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, does that surah have like anything about it that particularly stands out to you?
Um, I would say when I was completing my memorization of the Quran, so every juz is every juz is 20 pages, right? So the reason why this just particularly stuck out to me was because it's only two surahs, and Surah Nahl is like 14 pages, and the other one is 5.5 pages. So it was just really interesting that of the structure of the juz, and you would think that the 5.5 surah would be like the easier one to memorize, but actually this one, I don't know, it struck me particularly in a way too that it was like kind of easy to memorize, enjoyable to memorize, and I really loved reciting it. I haven't dwelled too much onto the meaning of the surah, and that is something I plan on doing for every surah, inshallah. But this one specifically just interested me. And I remember in one of my first Quran competitions that I competed in, this was one of the surahs that was selected. This just 14. So it's a very interesting surah for me too.
Yeah. And I haven't, like read the Quran as with as much attention. So like when I heard like the chapter like Nahl and it means like bees, it's like wow, like I didn't even know like a name of the chapter. So I
Mhm.
thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah,
But yeah, thanks again for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
no problem, no problem.
Yeah. Something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is that when you're young, you're kind of like learning about the world and about humanity and the story of it. But as you get older, at least in my opinion, there comes a moment where you kind of recognize now I'm not just learning about the story, but in fact I'm a part of the story.
Yeah.
Would you say that you've ever been faced with that realization? And if so, how has it shaped you?
So I definitely agree with you. Like, I guess the most basic example of like that is kind of like just education in general, where you're learning stuff and you're just like, oh, what's the application of this? What's the application of that? And I feel like as an adult, especially those of us taking the educational path, we kind of start to see the benefits of every little thing that we're learning in our classes, and that also translate well into society. But not also that, also things that we learn in terms of behavioral, like in terms of how we behave in society, in terms of culture, in terms of norms, and like you learn these things as a child, and you're always wondering, oh, you're always questioning. I don't know, maybe I was just very curious. I was always questioning things. But now as I've grown up and I've gotten to use this knowledge in my life, I definitely see the benefits of everything that I've learned when I was younger.
Wow.
Would you say that
What
that's the same for you?
what exactly do you mean?
For example, let's just say like, okay, when your parents tell you to greet someone a certain way, greet someone with respect, you're just like, okay, why do I need to do this? Why do I need to do that? Just like things that your parents told you to do and how they told you to act in public. Um, I feel like that has been beneficial to me because if you act based off of your intrusive thoughts as a child, and that's what you take into your adulthood, then you don't really know how to behave in society. You don't know how to behave when you meet someone important. You don't know how to behave when you're on a podcast, for example. So I was just trying to like that's one thing I've definitely taken from my childhood and adapted into my, I guess, adult life or older teenage life. But yeah.
That's pretty cool. What was the question that you were posing at me?
So I'm saying if you have seen the same thing in your life, like where.
Yeah, I suppose I have,
Mhm,
like I think manners are a really important part of a person's character,
mhm.
and I would hope that I could uphold those, but um sometimes it's just a person has to wonder, like am I doing things the right way to be seen, or am I doing them the right way because that's the right way to do them? Yeah,
Yes.
have you ever faced something like that?
I definitely face stuff like that a lot, like internally, especially because like one of the biggest things that I have that 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 dilemma happens internally for is the Quran. I would say like when I'm reading the Quran, because I know I'm getting rewarded for it. I know it's good to read with a beautiful voice, and I know all these things, but sometimes it's just like, well, am I doing it because it's the right thing? I'm going to be rewarded by God. Are my intentions pure, or am I doing it to get attention from people? Like I always pray to Allah that He gives me the right intentions and that I'm doing it for the right reasons. And one time I talked to my mom about this, and she told me it's a trick from Shaitan. Like Shaitan tries to make you doubt yourself for what reasons you're doing, like what are the reasons you're doing things for. So at the end of the day, you just pray to Allah that you're doing it for the right intentions, and you just continue to do what's good. And even if you are doing it for the wrong intentions, at least you're still doing the right thing, and that is what's most important.
Do you ever feel like an imposter?
Imposter. Hmm. Imposter. Do I ever feel like I'm an imposter? I would say I never really had that imposter feeling for anything. I know a lot of people have especially when it comes to like, for example, college. A lot of people have this imposter syndrome, or like a lot of people have it for like maybe a soccer team. Like maybe they don't feel like they deserve to be on a soccer team. But I feel like everything I have, God put me in every situation for a reason. There is no I'm not meant to be here, because if you weren't meant to be here, then you wouldn't be here. God wouldn't have put you in that situation. You know what I mean? So I don't really feel that actually.
I like that. That's interesting.
Mhm.
That's actually an angle that I've never looked at it from. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like how can you feel like an imposter because you are where you're supposed to be? That's interesting. I've never reflected on that. That's cool. Yeah. What fills up your well? Like what fills you up with sort of like passion to do the things you do, to set out
Um,
in the world?
right now, I would say the biggest thing that's like driving me is my future, the future I want to live, the family I want to have, the life I want to live in the future, and then the reasons why I want to be, I would say, successful. And obviously, the first thing you want to keep in mind when you're aiming for a goal is what, like, the biggest reason is for the sake of Allah, right? for God's sake, right? And I think you should remember that always. And then after that, it's just like, what are you gaining out of the hard work you're putting in? Some people don't understand that. Some people are just working hard because they all that's all they know. But for me, I'm working hard. I want to work hard because I don't think I'm 100% working hard. I'm not working as hard as I should be, but I want to work as hard as possible because of the life I want to live in the future, the life I want to live with my family and my future family, and how comfortable I want my family to be in the future.
Do you ever take it easy?
Do I ever take it easy? A lot, way more than I'm supposed to.
What does that mean?
Like some days I feel like I've genuinely not even tried to do anything and I've not accomplished anything. And I'm not the type of person that beats myself over like 100 times. Like, oh, why didn't I do anything today? Why didn't I do anything? But I'm always like, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna do better. And sometimes I actually achieve more the next day. Sometimes I don't. It's unfortunate, but
That's the
every
human
day,
experience, eh?
yeah, every day I do believe I should try my best to achieve more.
Yeah. Do you ever
Mhm.
clap hands with people and then get sad later that, man, I'll never see them again. I'll never know them again. They'll just be passing faces.
Hmm. I don't really think about that. Like, okay, one thing that I've started to go into recently is YouTube, like interviewing random people, um, you know, public type videos. And I used to have a lot of social anxiety. And like I used to think, oh, what will this person think of me? What would that person think of me when I like based off the little interaction that I had with them? But like there was this TikTok that I saw that really made me think in other people's perspectives, right? The most someone is a random person is going to think about you after they go, majority of people is maybe the next 2 to 3, 4 minutes max. They're not going to be thinking about
Mm.
you for a long time after. So I kind of that kind of gave me a confidence booster, like, oh, okay, let's say they think what I'm doing is like, like, that feeling. They're not going to remember that feeling forever. They're not going to go to sleep and be like, oh, who's that random dude? No. So I would say not really, unless it's like a very interesting person that I had a conversation with. Most times I really don't think um I'll be thinking about a person for a long time because I feel like I meet a lot of people, maybe just because I'm a social person.
That's pretty cool. I've
Mhm.
thought about that as well, right? Like, at UH, meet somebody outside the library, clap
Mhm.
hands, and then sit down at a desk inside. It's like, oh yeah, you maybe thought about them 20 seconds more, or like a
Yeah.
minute, 2 minutes, but that's as far as it goes.
Yep.
But with those people that you do meet, as you said, you meet so many people. Is there
Mhm.
ever at all like a feeling of, damn, like that person was kind of cool. I don't think I'll ever see them again, though. Has that ever crossed your mind?
Well, for me, if I think someone is cool and I'm genuinely interested in like that person, I would just try and get their contact information at that point. If there's someone that I would like to keep in touch with. Now, after that, it's like it's okay if we're not talking as much. But the fact that I have that person's contact information, if I ever do feel like, oh, this person is a really cool person, I would reach out to them.
Mm,
But yeah, that's how I think about it.
yeah. I
Hmm.
wanted to share something. A few friends of mine and I were stranded in the middle of Texas somewhere, in the middle of the night. And you were one of the boys that pulled up in the middle of the night to help us out in the cold. And so good on you for that. We appreciate that. And I'm
No
just
problem.
curious, like, there's a Persian poet, I believe, and he has a poem, and I think at the end of the poem, if I'm not mistaken, he says something like, "And I thank God for sending me someone who needed my help in the middle of the night." And so you were like on the other end of that. Like it's really cool that we were on the other end of that for you. So
Hmm.
what is it that like what allowed you to come out and help us? What was that all about? That's not an easy position to be in.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. So when I started seeing the text messages on the group chat that, oh, who is in College Station that can help right now, I was just like, at first I saw the notification. I didn't press on it immediately. I was like, because I was literally just about to fall asleep, and it takes me a long time to fall asleep. And I was just like, but then I was like thinking about it. I was like, I would want someone to help me if I was in that situation. I would hate if someone just ignored that message. I was like, why would I do such a thing? You know, treat others the way you want to be treated. So, so I opened the message and I start responding, and they ask if they have a spare tire. I said, yes, I have a spare tire. Um, and then I would start contacting the brother whose car got the whose tire popped, right? And then after some while, we realized that some other dude was heading. I realized some other dude was heading there, and he was gonna come by and pick my tire. And then when he got to my place, I realized he didn't have anyone in the car with him. So I was like, okay, it's not gonna be good if he goes alone. You know, that's a long drive by himself. I was just like, let me just accompany him, and um, I help my Muslim brothers out. So we take the spare tire. He picks me up, and then we head there, and it was actually a very interesting night. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of jokes, even though I was really, really tired. But I got to meet you that night. I didn't know I was meeting an author. Big ups to you, man. Like you wrote a whole book. Like that's really inspirational, man. But yeah, it was a very interesting experience. And even though kind of our us getting there was kind of like useless because the tire didn't end up fitting. But the fact that we knew someone else and were able to call other people, and it was everything was able to, and even that was useless. And the fact that y'all had brothers there and we were able to be there for you and our intentions, I feel like God is going to reward us for that. And I feel like that in itself is an unforgettable experience that we've all learned from. What do you call it, one way or another. So I definitely do not regret anything about that night. And if it were to play over again, I would definitely want it to play the way it did again. Like that was a very interesting night.
Yeah, it certainly was. Yeah, and you're right. Like that's where I got to know you. It's like, whoa, like who is this guy? And that was pretty cool. And the other brothers too, the
Mhm.
boys that pulled up, they were also very cool people.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's really cool that that happened, and it's kind of like that thing, the thread of destiny. You just kind of don't know where it takes you, but it takes you. Like who imagines their tire pops in the middle of nowhere, in the
Yeah.
middle of the night in Texas? You just don't see it coming. It's
Yep.
really interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Are there
Mhm.
ever instances in your life where things happen that you don't see them coming, but you kind of force yourself to make the best of it?
The one particular situation that stands out when you said that prompt right now is kind of like me going to Nigeria. Um after my after ninth grade, my parents told me I was going to Nigeria for school, like for high school. And obviously I was not thrilled about it. I thought that everybody here, like I thought I had friends here in high school. I thought that, oh my God, like I'm gonna be so sad. I'm gonna miss my friends. The comfortable life that I was living here. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. Then I got there the first trimester because they go by three trimesters instead of the American like semester. So the first trimester was absolutely horrible. I had what do you call it? Had an American accent, kind of got bullied for it a bit. And then also everyone saw me as the annoying American kid, kind of. I was pretty annoying to be honest. And I think it's mainly because I didn't really want to adapt. I didn't want to make the best out of it. I was so focused on coming back. Like that was my main priority. I really didn't want to be there
Yeah, why didn't you want to adapt?
because I was just like, who are these people? Like this is not what I've known my whole life. Like what I've known my whole life is living in America, like that.
So What was like the kind of spark, I guess, that made you adapt? What happened?
I would say the biggest thing is that I'm just really competitive. Like that's the biggest thing. So the school system in Nigeria works such that um the top five of each class is announced at the end of each exam period, right? They're announced to the whole school. And the bottom three are also announced, so kind of like a way. So the top five are announced and they get a lunch with the principal, and the bottom three are announced, where it's like kind of like to disgrace you ish, but also to encourage you to do better the next round of exams, right? So I remember the first. I was not in the bottom three. I would never be there, inshallah. But I remember the first time they announced the top five. I wasn't part of it. Like I was just dead in the middle, of the class because everyone sees their percentages, and I just saw that they were all being, rewarded for their hard work and everything. And before that, I never really took education seriously. It was just like, oh, okay, like it's something I can be good at, but it's not something I really want to be good at. I was just like, it was just right there. So I remember after the first trimester, and I saw that they announced the first five, and they kind of got like some clout off of it, whatever, got some dinner with the principal or lunch with the principal. I was like, okay, I want that to be me. Like that's where I want to be, I want to be the best. That's what pushed me. And then I kind of got carried away by that, and I forgot that I was in Nigeria, and I started adapting. I started making friends. I started getting comfortable. And eventually the next trimester, I was the second in my class. And I remember how good it felt like to, be at like one of the top people in my class. So that was just a good feeling overall. And I think that's what carried me away. And I think that was what ignited my me adapting to Nigeria.
How does a person become competitive?
What I'm about to say, I'm not sure someone can really just want to be. I'm not sure someone can choose to be competitive. I feel like it's just something you're born with to some extent. Like I feel like I feel like some people can be taught to be competitive, but me, like since I was a young child, like my parents have already told me, like I've always been competitive. If it's something I care about though, like some things I just don't care about. Like for example, Rubik's Cube competitions. I don't really care about that. I'm not gonna try and be the best in the world because I don't care about it. Now, if it's something like soccer or something like, something I genuinely am passionate about, then I'm gonna try and be the best at it. Well, I think I can try to be the best at it.
That's making me think, like, what if someone is not interested in a lot of things, but then there's very few things that they are interested in? I imagine that in that circumstance, they would become competitive.
Yeah.
Curious to, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, continue. Sorry.
What is the thrill of competition like?
Hmm. So to answer your first question, like that is usually what happens actually. Like even me, most people are not really competitive in everything. Like, most people have a niche few things that they want to be the best in, right? And what is the thrill that I get from competition? I really don't know how to explain it. Like I remember, I will never forget like the night before they announced that I was second in the class. That's all I was thinking about. I could barely sleep. Like I was just like, okay, I feel like I wasn't sure, but I was feeling like, okay, I'm gonna be top five. I'm gonna be top five. I was just saying it over. I was making prayers. I was praying to God like it was gonna be me. And I don't know, just the feeling of knowing that you worked hard, and because of that you did better than a lot of other people. The feeling that you did better than a lot of other people is really really thrilling. And also with, okay, like for example, I competed in a basketball tournament pretty recently, and I remember what do you call it? I worked hard like for the 2 weeks before the basketball tournament. I worked hard with my roommates, and we won. It was just like it was just an amazing feeling, you know. I worked hard for this and now I achieved it. I don't know how to explain it. It's like your ego's at an all-time high. Your head's through the roof.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
So when you are thrust into competition, can you distinguish between false confidence and true confidence in yourself?
Definitely, definitely. Sometimes you can get carried away and be overconfident in your abilities, but you'll definitely get that reality check. You'll definitely get that reality check.
Like I think like I'm speaking like from my own perspective. Sometimes when I'm overconfident, I still secretly know I'm overconfident. But
Yeah,
like there are moments where it's like, okay, this is true confidence. I recognize it.
yeah,
Is there a relationship like that with you as well, where you can secretly recognize the slight difference?
definitely, definitely. So, in my university, a bunch of brothers and I we play ping pong a lot, and I'm really competitive. I don't like losing. So when we first got to A&M my freshman year, I would lose a lot. I was just like, why are they beating me? Like I got so annoyed. I was like, why are these people beating me? So I would play a lot, play a lot. Then eventually the people were beating me 7 times in a row. I'd beat them 7 times in a row. So it was just kind of like that. And then recently, one of my close friends that I play a lot with, he went in and he put in a lot of work. He played this one dude at the mosque who was really good, and he played him a lot of times, and he got so much better. But because of how competitive I was and overconfident I was, I went into thinking I could beat him. So he played like 4 or 5 times and he beat me all of those times. Like I was close sometimes, but he beat me because he's been putting in the work. I haven't been putting in the work. So I can't really be confident in my abilities. That was just being overconfident and being kind of stupid, you know. I didn't put
Yeah,
in the work. So why would I think that I could beat him?
this is very interesting that you're saying this.
Hmm.
One of my speech professors, he said that when you prepare, you gain confidence. And
Yeah.
so that nervousness disappears.
Hmm.
Now, I'm interested when someone reads the Quran, does
Hmm.
that prepare them for life? Does that give them confidence for life, do you think?
Confidence in what? Is it in reading the Quran or confidence in life in general?
Yeah, like if you regularly read the Quran, does that give you confidence in life in general, do you think? Have you ever thought about that?
I feel like reading the Quran will give you like kind of like if you set a time to read the Quran every day, it'll give you something to hold by as like your daily routine. And it's like, something that will be like, okay, once I read my Quran in the morning, the rest of the day will be like a-okay, like you've done some type of like some type of good for your heart, and that is something that I really worked on. The TikTok that you saw of me reading Surah Nahl, right? That TikTok was as part of my series of reading um the 114 surahs, one every day, right? And when I first started, I was very consistent. I was trying my best to be consistent because I was like, I need something in my day. Like one of my friends in A&M, he told me like, oh, we spend how many hours? Like 2, 3, 4 hours scrolling on our phone a day, but we can't even give 10 minutes to God to read Quran, like other than prayer. Like this is just like this is bare minimum. Just like how much, like how little, what a little part of our day it is. And it's good for our soul. And if we remember God, God will remember us. If we give our time to God, God will help us in our daily endeavors. So I wouldn't say, I don't know if it adds to my confidence, but one thing I do know is that reading the Quran regularly, having a time for it, setting time, because you'll never have time for anything unless you set time for it. But making time for the Quran, I feel like I've heard countless stories of when people set aside time for the Quran and really take it seriously, God just improves other aspects of their lives in general. So that's what I can say about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool. Abdullah, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, man. I really appreciate that. I'm
Yeah.
curious, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything that you felt like you wanted to say, but you didn't get a chance to say, or something on your mind that you wanted to express?
Not anything particular I would want to express. I just want to ask you, like, how did you get into writing a book? What was the whole process like? How long did it take you? And I kind of want to know like more about you. Like, what's your personality? How do you like go after these things that you want to do, like starting a podcast and writing a book, you know?
Yeah. Well, I take everything as that you said as a compliment, so thank you. But
Okay.
what's your question, I suppose, if you had one?
Okay. So my one question is, how did you how do you go after the things that you want in terms of like writing a book and making a YouTube channel for your podcasts?
I would say the book and the podcast are like to me, I see them like differently. But I think ultimately one way to examine it is the concept of legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Every human being on earth wants to be remembered for something. And it would be nice if we could do something good, for being remembered for it. So I suppose something like that, like realizing that a lot of things are short-lived and that everything that's happening has already happened. And like this is life, right? Like people are born, people die, people go to school, people graduate, people get married, they have kids, etc., etc. Like things just they've always happened and they're going to continue to happen. The style, the culture, the time will always be different, but they've already happened. And so it's like what really does matter. And it's like, well, I suppose something beyond the grave. And so I know that's a bit of an ambiguous answer, but it's something along those lines. Like legacy, just remembering what it is that you think is important, kind of a thing.
Mm. That's an interesting approach. I
Yeah,
haven't really thought about that, and I've thought about it to a little extent, but I haven't thought about it in great detail and applying that into what I do.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
really interesting. And what inspired you to write a book, and how was the process like? How long did it take?
Well, I wrote two books. The first one, it took me like about a year and a half. I started in December 2020, and then I finished it in like June 2022. And then the
Wow.
second one, I actually wrote in like 15 days. Like it
Wow.
was just, yeah, May 2022, June 2022, like in between, it was just done. So like some things like you're like just feeling it in the moment. And so it comes out of you, like that book that was written in 15 days. And then other things, it's like um it takes time, but like the passion is still pure to
Mm.
give birth to it type thing.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
really interesting. A book in 15 days. Wow.
Yeah. It's a book of poems, all original poems. So boom,
Wow.
boom, boom, just whatever comes out. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Thank
What
you.
do you want to be in the future? What do you want to do in the future?
Uh, I like to be true to myself. I think that's the way to put it. True to myself, because you never know where life takes you, what angle it'll put you in, or just that thread of destiny. You really just don't know. But whatever it is, what I'd like to be is true to myself.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's
Uh,
cool.
do you have any other questions before we close off?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, it was an honor speaking with you. Thank you so much. And I do want you to know, honestly, like I really admire like your Quranic recitation. It's good stuff. So
Thank
good
you.
on you, man.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine to be here. I really appreciate you having me here today.
Of course. You take care, my friend. Until next time, inshallah.
Inshallah. Have a nice one, bro.
You too.